Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you are, and welcome to Mini Indie Game Reviews, a place where I will be reviewing indie games that are quick, sweet, and straight to the point. Today we're going to be looking at The Cub, which is developed by Demigod Studios and published through Untold Tales. This will be the second outing coming from the developers, with their first game being Golf Club Wasteland. And as always, today I'm going to be rocking out with the PlayStation 4 and 5 version, so let's get into it. The story of The Cub actually takes place within the same universe as Demigod Studios' other title, Golf Club Wasteland, and seemingly the other game that's going to be coming out real soon. In a post-apocalyptic world where Earth has become uninhabitable, most of which due to the cause of human beings being themselves ignorant and comedically arrogant, Mother Nature for the most part went on a rampage. Some say due to climate change, but clues suspect that even before then, society was going to collapse due to the mismanagement of socio-economic matters and the division of class between wealthy and the poor, let alone the survival of the human race. Before all hell broke loose, the rich and powerful at the time escaped in rockets to live in a developed colony on Mars known as Tesla City. Whereas in the other game we saw the perspective of life from a traveler who luckily was fortunate enough to leave Earth for the settlement on Mars and came back simply because he just wanted to play golf. Here we see how life is from the perspective of a child who was, I guess, left behind and was, well, raised on Earth. How this child grew up was likened to the way that Tarzan was raised by animals. Fascinated by the existence of this child, a bunch of familiar visitors from Tesla City becomes intrigued by how a human has survived this Earth, which is deemed not to be suitable for a mortal to survive, much less a child. Thinking that it'll be a good specimen to study, let alone an opportunity to increase their pay, or even have a job promotion, these scouters decide to capture this child. But this kid is not going to make it easy for them. So throughout the playthrough, it becomes a game of cat and mouse as the player discovers more about this new Earth and life in this era. The Cub looks nice and carries over the same visual aesthetics found within Demigod Studios' other games. One of the things that kinda caught my eye was the choice of animation style. The way that every character moves about allows the player to actually look at the keyframes that shows every motion that's being taken. As far as the environments, I love how everything is depicted, let alone their subliminal messages that can be found. One of the things that I kinda found just a tad bit detailed was the water. I don't know what it is with it, but I just love looking at it. But anyway, I also love how the different chart drawings depict the very way that you was unalive to captured whenever, you become unalive to captured. Although this game plots and events that may have taken place on this Earth is seriously dark and grim, this game does a good job at a seemingly lighthearted portrayal of it with the bright neon colors and character designs that look like they may have come straight out of a children's book. This actually brightens the tone, but the more that I think about it, it kind of makes this game a little bit more darker. In my honest opinion, I think the only other medium of entertainment that was able to pull this off was probably Futurama. But anyway, the levels that you traverse across looks nice, and if my memory serves me correctly, pays a lot of homage to other areas located in Demigod Studios games. Seeing the beautiful yet still decrepit traces of a once civilization being now overcome by nature can tell a multitude of stories. Some you can easily tell by context clues, and others, well, you just have to use your imagination. At its core, The Cub is your old return-to-form side-scrolling platformer that gives off the classic vibes as if you're playing Donkey Kong or one of those old Disney NES games in a lot of ways. This kid that you play as has the ability to move left or right, jump, double jump, swing on chains and vines, do a little boost to your movement to help avoid capture from these travelers, push or smash through obstacles, duck, and also creep around. All of these things are at the player's disposal to get from point A to point B. It sounds simple, and fundamentally it is. The thing that the player has to possess is a sense of timing when getting through the environmental obstacles. The reason why I say this is because it's going to be very crucial and detrimental to your survival. Plus, there are going to be some parkour segments, so if you're not on top of your game, well, expect some hard times ahead of you. In other words, just be aware. For example, like knowing when to come up for air when underwater, which is illustrated by these visual cues where the screen gets darker on its edges. Knowing when to move when you're sneaking past your predators. Knowing when to jump and duck when enemies and objects lie in wait to take you out. Knowing when to dodge, and also knowing when to let go when you're swinging off of a vine or a chain. Along the way, you'll be able to find items that flushes out the world building from Earth's previous inhabitants through forms of messages, readable headlines, and switching on the television, along with other items that you can drink and interact with. If there is one criticism that I could give to the Cub, it would be just getting used to, as I said before, the timing. given the main character's animation. I mean, just in my experience, it will sometimes look as though he's not moving fast, or maybe he is moving fast but not fast enough. Yeah, it can be a little bit confusing. But other than that, the gameplay is simple and comprehensible, even for casual gamers. The sound design of the Cub was done very well, but there were some things that kinda scared the hell out of me. The underwater muffled sound filter does what it's supposed to do. You know, whenever you're up underwater. And also, the voice actors that voice the radio host and our main character is definitely distinct. The main character that you play as sounds so innocent, but the topic of what he actually talks about in this game most certainly isn't something to laugh at.
I couldn't find Mama. I was scared and alone. I'll never know whether she died or abandoned me.
You see, he does some gruesome things just to remind you that he was raised by wolves. But then, back to the radio host, he sounds so smooth, comforting with his delivery. But again, it's these dystopian topics that makes the player be like, they are really living in hell.
Speaking of stuffy air, please don't attempt to open portal windows to let some fresh air in. It's unbelievable that we have to mention this, but we're living in pressurized domes, people. Breathing recycled air is just the new normal.
And what's scary is that arguably it's not too far-fetched from how things can possibly become in real life, you know. Anyway, the sound design of this game is very good, but it's the music that takes the cake. The music of the Cub sees the return of this program known as Radio Nostalgia from Mars, which was also featured in the game Golf Club Wasteland.
Greetings, all you Tesla City Martians out there. You're listening to Radio Nostalgia from Mars, the show for those who miss a morning run in the park, slurping minestrone soup, sailing with the wind in their hair, singing in unison with thousands of people at a music concert, or smelling the coming rain. In other words, a show for the long lost days of Earth.
It's pretty much a radio broadcast reminiscent, if not similar, to what you will hear from the British broadcast company, specifically BBC Radio. This station not only serves as the means of showcasing a multitude of artists and their music, but also a means of world building, as in between songs it provides commentary within this post-apocalyptic era via interviews, monologues, current events, news, and advice for surviving day-to-day life.
Crime is the actual meaning of life. I'm serious. I tried to recreate that feeling here on Mars. So I took a Tesla City Delivery EVA for a spin on the Planitia Plains, but it's like driving a janky VR simulation. It made me miss riding my motorcycle, my Jolene, even more.
So what is the music sounding like? Well, it's diverse and beautiful. We dive into a lot of genres such as avant-garde, psychedelic rock, electronic, borderline house music, reggae, you name it. You can thank Shanberry and Igor Simic for putting together which instead of an album sounds much more like a music compilation that perfectly sets the multiple tones for the Cub. From the foreboding songs like the lead single Son of No One to the creepy but playful Asa Go Distant, this soundtrack is top-notch quality. Live instrumentation, amazing vocals, chord progressions, genres. I cannot say it enough. This OST has everything. You can listen to the Radio Nostalgia from Mars broadcast for yourself, which is broken down into episodes via Untold Tales YouTube. I'll post links in the description where you can listen, and also we can probably pick up a copy for yourself.
And warmest memories on Radio Nostalgia from Mars, music from the last days of Earth.
The Cub serves as another window for the viewer to look inside this shared universe. Talk about world building. The gameplay is fun and brought me back to a simpler time where there was no such thing as DLC, patches, or things of that nature. Just a simple game with a simple concept that could go into more complex conversations away from the game and into topics such as socio-political aspects or even geographical environmental issues. There was this video released a few years back called Distant Thunder. I believe it was supposed to be somewhat of an extended trailer or rather a visual showcase of this game's Earth. But within it, we see two characters, a man in an orange astronaut suit, which we could assume to be our golfer, but then there was this kid that was accompanying him. I would rather suspect that this kid could be the same one that we are playing as in the Cub. If so, then that would mean that this game was probably already in the making ever since then. Oh yeah, and that reminds me. Before I leave, I would strongly recommend you check out our review for Demigod Studios' game Golf Club Wasteland. In it, I talk about some things that would be a good accommodating piece in order for you to understand the world of the Cub. But anyway, I say that this game is worth checking out. The Cub is now available for PlayStation 4 and 5, Nintendo Switch, and Steam for PC, with the price tag only being around $16. If you played this game, let me know what you think in the comments below. And until next time, be safe out there, and peace, y'all.
And don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit up that notification bell, and I gotta go. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit up that notification bell, and I gotta go.